my utter horror, I learned that, with no conception of any possible scruples on my part, she had arranged for me to have one of the 4 beds, the women of the house the remaining 3, while the master and Vincent were to occupy hammocks in the same room. With stoical disregard of masculine observance, these native families disrobed themselves, skillfully, it is true, though the process of necessity was a short one, and then, in company with their male companion, deliberately set themselves to watch my preparations for the night. These last, you may be sure, were of the simplest kind. I took off my shoes and let down my hair, and then, in my still wet dress, which was fortunately a flannel one, I crept into the bed the servant had made up with the clothes we carried with us. Vincent's night toilet was still less elaborate. He unbuckled the leather belt upon which hung his revolver, and brought it over to me with a brief injunction that I was to use it if need be. A startling suggestion, truly, but the weapon gave me a sense of security, though it was such an enormous one that I knew with both hands on the trigger, both eyes tight shut and mouth firmly set in the usual feminine way, I could never make the thing go off in time to render me more than a post-mortem defense. As the burning pine sticks which had furnished light for us slowly crumbled into ashes, I heard a wonder-struck voice ask if all the American ladies went to bed with their clothes on, to which Vincent, sharing my desire to do or say nothing that could hurt their feelings, gravely replied that it was the national custom. Of course I did not sleep, tired as I was. I was more than half afraid to close my eyes, and when I finally did summon up sufficient courage to do so, there ensued a series of disturbances that successfully banished any further somnolent inclination for the night. First our man Eduardo arrived, and all the animals about felt it their bounden duty to extend to him a welcome, whence began a simultaneous barking of dogs, mewing of cats, grunting of pigs, crowing of roosters, quacking of ducks, braying of mules, neighing of horses, and wagging of tongues, as I had never heard since in my childish days we had lived on my father's farm in the green fields of barley. When that commotion had subsided, our host sank into a slumber so noisy that I lay there in momentary expectation of seeing the roof depart upon a celestial journey, and I am sure it was only saved from displacement by the rebellion of his throat causing a terrific fit of coughing. This over, he recounted a vivid, if stupid, dream he had just had, and then once more came restful silence. It was not to last long, however, for in the early dawn a neighbor rode over to help kill a pig, but after a lengthy debate it was decided that mañana would do as well. By this time the farm world was astir, and we were not long in following suit. So tired, dirty, still damp from yesterday's rain, I arose to meet the trials and tribulations of the 3rd day. 2 little facts came to my knowledge before our simple breakfast, which gave a new color to my thoughts and revived my drooping spirits. One was a prospect of absolute cleanliness, for Vincent told me they had a bathroom in their house, a luxury I must confess I had not expected to find in a small village in interior Honduras. At Amalapa, I had most regretfully said goodbye to 2 good steamer friends who were going to the capital by another road, and one which led through Pespire, the little village we had passed the previous afternoon. As good luck would have it, Eduardo, in his wanderings, had gone to a sort of agency there to inquire if we had been seen, and had found a letter for me, left by one of the 2 travelers who had preceded us. Surely never a communication from the dearest friend I had ever had was quite so eagerly seized and devoured as was this brief note, which came to me like a refreshing glimpse of the world I had known. Heaven bless the writer for this kindly inspiration. At 8 o'clock we were again mounted, and had said goodbye forever, I trust, to San Juan. Oh, mockery of names! Meanwhile, my companions had informed me that we would soon come to the mountains, where I knew I should meet the much-talked-of equestrian difficulty. We had not ridden long before it seemed to me our road came to a sudden termination, for right before us rose a steep and rocky cliff. Too soon I learned that we must scale this, so, grasping my saddle firmly, I prepared to hang on while the mule did the rest. Just in the worst part of it, I became aware that the saddle was turning, and no effort or skill of mine could save me from a fall. Vincent saw my danger and shouted to me to jump, at the same time dismounting and hurrying to my assistance. With all too brief a prayer for mercy, I let go of everything except the bridle, and landed a shapeless mass, fortunately one containing considerable adipose, directly under the mule and upon a bed of jagged rocks. My mule, bless her heart, never stirred, or I should either have had my head crushed by her hooves, or have been hurled into the depths below. As it was, I was only slightly bruised and very shaky, but as soon as the saddle was righted and firmly fastened, I was ready to mount and go on. Then I was not so anxious for my cousin's presence, though Vincent will bear me witness that it was no fault of mine. I learned during the day that the Spanish word for road is a most expansive one. For miles he went up and down over smooth, glaring white rocks, where no animal on earth but a Honduras mule could have found a footing. When I saw any particularly rugged bit of scenery, a gorge, a cliff, where surely human foot had never trod, I was told it was the road. I never foresaw where we were going for one instant. I kept the reins in my hand, but never pretended to guide the animal, whose intelligence I now had to admit